The meeting for Akron City Council will come to order. Clerk will read the roll.
There we go. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Key, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
For those who voluntarily wish to do so, would you please stand as we are led in prayer by Councilman Neal. Following our prayer, we'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilwoman Veronica Sims.
Lord, we're thankful for this many blessings you bestowed upon this collective body and this city as a whole. Lord, we ask that you accept our thanksgiving for just the many blessings that you bestowed upon us. Now as we prepare to go into this meeting and conduct the business of this city, we ask for your wisdom and your guidance so that we may conduct it in a way that will be pleasing in your sight. Help us to ever be mindful of the less fortunate and always keep them at the center of our thoughts as we go about conducting our business. We thank you for the rich history. We ask that we honor those who came before us by the way we conduct our business tonight. We pray. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You ready?
I'm going to pull myself in. There we go.
Clerk will read the minutes from our previously held meeting.
Council convened in regular session at 7 p.m. with President Somerville in the chair. All members were present. Minutes of the previous regular meeting were approved. Reading and petitions of communications. Passage of the consent agenda. Report of standing and special committees. Passage and referral of new ordinances and resolution. Representation from various departments and divisions. Public speaking period. No further business on a motion by Fusco. Council adjourned at 8:07 p.m. to reconvene a regular session on June 25th or special call.
Any corrections or additions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Letters, petitions, and communications.
Item number 1, correspondence from Brant Luther, Stark County Administrator, with notice of ComDoc's intent to relocate to Jackson Township.
File.
Notice of a new D5J liquor permit to Streaming Success LLC, doing business as What's on the Menu, 271 South Main Street.
Special attention, Councilman Swirsky.
That doesn't sound right. Summary of income tax receipts through the end of May 2018.
File.
Correspondence from the Ohio Department of Commerce, Division of Liquor Control, informing council that the processing of the transfer of ownership application for Hibachi Express Ohio LLC, 456 East Exchange Street will continue.
Special attention, Councilwoman Somerville.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we receive an update, do reference pending litigation from the law department.
Second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Roll call.
Roll call. Freeman. Fusco. Hope. Kamer. Keith. Kilby. Milkovich. Neal. Amobian. Samples. Sims. Somerville,
Aye.
Swirsky. Okay. Go ahead.
While we're waiting, you can sign now. If anybody's gonna speak during the public comment period, you gonna speak? Anybody gonna speak during the public comment period at the end? No? Because you can sign now instead of while you come up here. No? Okay. All right. So 4 people. Okay. Anybody who is speaking during the public comment portion? You signed your name already? Okay, anybody else? All right, don't y'all get up here and you have to sign and all that, waste all that time. When you get, okay, you know I'm messing with y'all. Just
Sign this.
ask you to sign the name and address and like this. You have to say sometime when you come up, that way you can just get right into it instead of talking. Right, okay.
I'm already nervous.
Okay. No, we gotta do that.
Can we get a motion to come out of executive session? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Roll call.
Roll call. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Key, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville,
Aye.
Swirsky.
We have before us the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Key, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
Moving into our old agenda rules, Councilman Keith.
The committee would like time. Thank you.
Time will be granted. We have one public hearing on tonight. I'm going to ask all those who will be speaking on the issue regarding Newell Avenue and Crawford Road, if you'll please stand at this time so that you can be sworn in by our law department.
If you would, please raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If you do, say, I do. Thank you.
Okay, legal notice. Notice hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, June 25th, during the regular 2018, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. in council chambers, 166 South High Street, upon an ordinance authorizing conditional use to construct an apartment development at the corner of Mull Avenue and Crawford Road.
Mr. Antonucci?
Madam President, members of council, Elegant Homes, Inc. intends to combine 3 vacant parcels to construct a 6-unit market rate apartment development on this property. Each of 3 total buildings would contain a total of 1,500 square feet of area. Building materials would consist of vinyl siding with asphalt shingled roofing. Each separate unit would consist of 785 square feet and contain 2 bedrooms, living room, bath, and kitchen. A 6 by 8 foot at-grade wooden deck would be at the rear of each unit. A 9-space parking lot would be sited northwest of the buildings. The site plan indicates ample open space and landscaping. While the abutting residential land use to the north and east of this proposal is single family, there are multiple conditionally zoned apartment developments to the south across Mull Avenue with the spacious First Energy campus to the west. Provided the petitioner installs wooden fencing along the eastern property line to buffer the buildings from the residences to the east, the planning staff recommends approval with conditions, while the Planning Commission recommends disapproval.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in the audience to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone here to speak in favor? We're just going to ask if you would please give us your name and your address.
My name is Joseph Blau. I own Elegant Homes Incorporated, and my address is 1185 Sand Run Road, Akron, Ohio, 44313. I've owned the property that's before you since 2007. We've made some effort to try single-family homes without success, and with the event of the heavy building done down the street to the west of this property by First Energy, and then they're having a substation there, we felt it would be a good thing to do. This really is not an apartment complex. There's some confusion there. It's just 3 single-story twinplexes. The total height of the twinplexes will not exceed 13 feet from the ground, and there currently is fencing to the north of this, and we would add a fence to the east. The eastern property owner driveway is approximately 4.5 feet above the property where this proposal goes. So if a fence were installed on the eastern property, Neil Rada, who is the owner there, just bought it recently, would not even see that property if he came in his drive in the evening. There were some other issues brought by the owners about flooding, and having my surveyor was out there, we realized that Mr. Rada, the party to the east, modified his driveway entrance, and this caused an impediment of the water. Instead of flowing west, it went back east or just stayed in a puddle. Other concerns about flooding on the property. Like I say, I've owned almost 12 years. There's never been any flooding. And working with the Planning Commission, we've developed a plan. They've made some insightful comments about how the buildings were to be arranged. And also there's a landscape plan that goes along with it so that it would blend in with all the single-family properties there.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone else here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak against? Anyone here to speak against?
Good evening. My name is Mike Hadjaway. My address is 1634 Artman Avenue. So first off, I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. I did speak before the Planning Zoning Commission previously, so I don't want to waste anyone's time. I would rehash many of those same talking points, so I wanted to see if anybody in the council actually was able to see the petition that was written up and signed by my neighbors and I. Okay. So my property is located next to the proposed apartment development. At a prior zoning commission meeting, I brought a petition that was signed by myself and my neighbors that opposed the Elegant Homes putting basically on the main criteria of putting our home values and safety for our families at risk due to additional apartment complex in the area. The only benefit that would basically provide this piece of land is really just towards Elegant Homes. We oppose the petition for the following reason. Adding an apartment complex to a street that's full of single-family homes fundamentally alters our neighborhood, while the other side of Mull, as Mr. Blau mentioned, is already highly saturated with rental properties. To simply provide you some context, the following apartment complexes I'm listing for you consist of approximately 500 units that are less than a mile away from the proposed property. Directly across the street is the Fairway Tower and Manor complex, a 7-story apartment complex with approximately 60 units, and adjacent to that is another multi-building complex with approximately 80 additional units. Less than a quarter mile from Mull is Heritage White Pond, which is a very large building complex with at least 200 units. White Pond Villa is around the corner. It's a 6-story unit with 50 units. And then around the other corner is Wesley Towers, which is an 8-story high-rise with over 100 units. So just to summarize, we have 300 rental units that are with 1/4 mile of the property, and almost 150 of them are directly across the street. So we're just overly saturated from a rental property perspective already. Multiple studies show that high concentration of renters in a single area shows the potential to decrease surrounding home values by up 14%. A 2012 study corroborated this by Colorado State that concluded rentals within 1/4 mile of the sold home value were shown to negative impact on the price. A 2016 Realtor.com study also found that higher than average concentration of renters have lower property values compared to those of the other counties, and that has been shown to show a decrease of up to 14%. And therefore, adding another apartment complex within an already saturated market benefits no one. Also of concern is the impact of an apartment complex would have on the existing traffic problem in our neighborhood. Armin and Crawford are frequently used as cut-throughs between Hawkins and Mull, with unsafe speeds posing a safety risk to the children and pets of our street. An apartment complex with new residents will only exacerbate this problem, and more traffic will only further deteriorate the poor road conditions in the area. Additionally, an apartment complex will undoubtedly be taller, at least than many of the properties directly behind, just based on how the grading and sloping of the property is. Mull's already taller than most of the properties behind. So these properties would basically be overlooking our backyards. And our backyards would essentially then also become a parking lot, as Mr. Blau mentioned, regardless of whether a 6-foot fence is there or not. So the privacy of our properties would currently at risk, and based on that, if we can't ensure the safety of of that, it basically puts our families in additional risk that we ultimately do not want. Lastly, based on how the properties have been maintained over the last 10 years, we have little confidence on the actual properties itself being maintained in the future as well. So I do appreciate the time to speak to you today. I was trying to be quick, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else here in the audience to speak against? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Councilman Fusco?
I'd like to pull the committee for time. Mobian, Kamer, Neal, Swirsky. Aye. For the committees for time. I'd like to talk to you afterwards to get a hold of those petitions. Thank you.
Okay, time will be granted. Councilman Fusco, your...
Time on the balance.
Okay, time will be granted. Public Service, Councilman Keith.
Thank you, Madam President. We would like this to be referred. Time.
Okay. Time will be granted. We'll now move into our new legislation. Budget and Finance.
1 second, sir. Okay. Item number 1, offered by Freeman. Ordinance authorizing Director of Finance or the Director of Finance or her designee to pay $60,000 to support the planning and implementation of the 2018 Akron International Soapbox Derby and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Freeman?
Committee's requested this item be placed on the consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Okay, item number, 1 second here. Stuck together. Item number 2, offered by Freeman. Ordinance authorizing Director of Finance or her designee to pay $15,000 for the operating subsidy of the Cascade Locks Park Association in order to support the maintenance of the Cascade Locks and the Muscle Store Museum as welcoming, recreational, and culturally educational urban green space and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Freeman?
Committee's requested that this item be placed on the consent agenda as well.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 3, offered by Fusco. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to file application to enter into an agreement for funding of certain capital improvements under the Ohio Public Works Commission's Local Transportation Improvement Program and the State Capital Improvement Program, committing city funds for the local share of these improvements and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco?
Yes, thank you, President Somerville. The report of the committee is for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. This is a grant application to the Ohio Public Works Commission, a local transportation improvement program through the state capital improvements. This program has been established since 1989. The city of Akron has been awarded about $170 million altogether. We're expecting an announcement in November in terms of what particular programs. Obviously, we're in a competition with other communities out there, but November, we're expecting the announcement in terms of what's going to be programmed. Construction can't begin until 2019, and we will see if, for example, a particular program is awarded. There's 9 that we've asked for funds from the state for, which will help us with our financial stack of money to go forward with these programs. And we would see that legislation again, assuming we get that. So we're asking for a total of, I believe, $24 million to be matched with other funds for 9 various projects, and we'll see where we end up at the end of the day. So, but we're asking for approval this evening.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Freeman. Fusco. Hope. Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Okay, item number 4, offered by Keith. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into amendments supplement number 2 to agreements between the City of Akron and Akron Energy Systems LLC relating to the financing of certain improvements to the city's steam, hot water, and chilled water system, and the sale of certificates payable from the payments made under such agreement, authorizing the execution of the amendment supplement number 2 to the financing agreement, and authorizing actions necessary and incidental thereto, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith?
Thank you, Madam President. The committee's report is favorable, and we are requesting suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you, Madam President. We find this to be a very commendable organization now. We have been running in the black for quite a few years, which the horror stories of the steam plant hopefully will come to an end as we watch and visualize what is to be yet for the steam plant. And we had down here representation from Akron Children's Hospital and from Cleveland Clinic, Akron General. We, along with them, our committee, believe that this is more than worthwhile. We have signed contracts from these 2 large hospitals. And I think what was noted today, we had a nice presentation. I don't want to go through all of it, but what's really important to note is these 2 didn't make this decision overnight, these 2 entities. It took a lot of consulting, a lot of their own background work, and they believe that is commendable for as we move forward on this, and that anything that they build, even in the future, will be on this, on the steam plant. We will be using that energy for anything that they build. So that's a long way from where we were with this years ago. And we have many, many people to commend on that, so I'm not even going to begin. But I'm standing here proud, as I believe the committee was proud, to hear the report and hear the opportunity that we can stand behind them now as they move forward, even advancing more. So with that, we would like suspension of the rules.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Freeman. Fusco. Hope. Kamer. Key. Kilby. Milkovich. Neal. Amobian. Samples. Sims. Somerville. Swirsky.
We will now go to the portion of our meeting that we refer to as our public comment period. If you wish to speak to this council during this time, you may approach the podium. We're going to ask that you please sign in, state your full name, spell your last name, and give us your address. You will have 3 minutes to speak to this body. Speakers are reminded that this is an official meeting. Remarks should be respectful and germane to council business. Speakers should refrain from making any personal attacks. Anyone who breaches decorum will be ruled out of order and may be removed from council chambers. Do we have anyone here tonight that would like to speak during our public comment period?
Name is Willie Smith, last name spelled S-M-I-T-H. I live at 225 Chittenden. Food for thought and calling for immediate action procedure. My presentment of comments will be conveyed in question and answer format. Question, how to retain Akron census? Answer, creation of livable wage employment. Question, how to grow Akron census? Answer, improving the housing stock, improving the city's infrastructure. Question, where are the jobs for Akron residents? Answer, jobs are in the palms of Akron. Question, what are the jobs? Answer, Akron sewer, waterways, and Go Green projects, and Akron's soon-to-be medical marijuana industry. Jobs and positions are cultivators, processors, lab testers, sales dispensers, security, and physician. On-the-job training can be applied to these jobs and positions. These are government projects and shovel-ready projects. Question, Why was House Bill 180 deemed an unconstitutional overreach of Ohio's General Assembly? Answer, because it conflicted with the Fannie Lewis Law and Home Rule Authority, said courts of law. Question, what does the Fannie Lewis Law stipulate? Answer, municipalities like Akron can require that for public construction projects within the city, a certain percentage of the work hours performed on a given contract must be reserved for City of Akron residents, and a percentage of that must be reserved for low-income residents. Question, Mayor, Chief of Staff, City Council, and Service Directors, is Rosie's tour of duty nearing its end of term of service? Answer, yes. The remaining project work, city employees and residents can produce and manufacture. It's time to complete the thought. City of Akron initiating its own construction workforce. Question, why initiate Akron's own construction workforce? Answer, Representative Emily Seitz states it best. Akron citizens deserve a fair shot of good-paying local jobs because they have a stake in rebuilding the communities where they live and raise their families.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Madam President and members of the council, my name is John Beatty, B-E-A-T-Y, at 2047 Wyndham Road. First of all, I want to thank a couple of the council persons that I saw at the rally to try to keep families together despite the attempt by the Trump administration to kidnap our kids who are immigrant children. And I appreciate Jeff Fusco and Tara Mosley Samples being there. Perhaps some of the rest of you were there.
I was there next to Jeff.
I see, okay.
You didn't recognize me.
I'm sorry. Appreciate you being there. I do want to invite the council members to 3 other rallies, vigils for the children of our immigrants, partially those who have been caught up in these raids by ICE, and partially because of this purposeful separation of children, sometimes very young children, from their parents on the border. There's going to be one tomorrow evening at the I've got a brain moment here. Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesdays at 6 p.m. tomorrow at the Heart of Darkness, the ICE headquarters itself in Brooklyn Heights at 925 Keynote Circle in Brooklyn Heights. The other one is from 2 to 4 at the same place. We're trying to express the deep concern of our communities about what's been happening in these raids in Ohio. And we're fearful that they will be coming again even closer because we have many immigrants, many undocumented immigrants who are in fear because of these raids. And I personally am acquainted with a number of these families that have just been torn apart by this draconian policy. So the other one is Saturday at 10 a.m. at Public Square in Cleveland. We hope that some of you can make it up. We hope that other residents in the area can make it up there and express your moral concern for what is happening to our families. Secondly, I want to thank Mayor Horrigan and staff for addressing the concerns of some of the residents here who may be speaking tonight, the Muscle Store area, the Bailey Court area. Thank you for all that good work you're doing. Now the question is, we've helped those with disposable income at the top of the ladder, building these new homes, tax-free increment, tax-free for 15 years. Perhaps we can do something for those that are distressed. The city has often caused distress because of the necessary work on the sewer tunnel.
Sir, your time is up.
Thank you. I hope that we can continue to assist these residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Beatty.
Thank you, Madam President, council members. We did address, Mr. Little came and gave us the...
Can you give us your name and your address, Emmanuel?
Emmanuel Bay, 380 Bailey Court.
Could you pull that microphone up a little bit closer to, there you go.
Okay. Chris Little, he came and gave us a petition for 380 Bailey Court, and so we're going to go over that. We do thank you for the concern and the work there, and we'll try to do what we can to make sure it's correct also. But I do want to thank the council for that.
Thank you, Emmanuel.
I hear it, turn it on. That's all right.
Good evening, everyone. Cynthia Bell, 123 Bustell Street, Bell. I just want to come and give an update. We were, some of us were contacted by the city engineer, and there's a little bit of involvement. And I guess my question now becomes, I looked on the website of the city and realized there are the 2018 redevelopment plan that's about 175 pages that looks gorgeous in that area if it ever comes, or when it comes to fruition, but it does not seem to include the area that we are located in. So I guess my question becomes, what happens to Mustle Street as a result? I mean, we're in negotiation, or we're at least talking about having a conversation about the repairs to the homes that are down there. Is the beautification going to make it look as nice as the rest of the plan for the north side? I'm still waiting to hear what the committee comes up with in terms of redevelopment. So when that occurs, I will be back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Bell.
Good evening, everybody. Just like to thank everybody for the opportunity to speak just for a quick second. I'll be quick. My name's Eric Megerle, M-O-E-G-E-R-L-E. I live at 119 Mustle Street. My wife is Daika Megerle, and my concerns are the Mustle Street area, the future plans for that street, as it directly affects my family. I have made improvements to that home with some various things and would like to do more. However, it concerns me that there may be some future plans already in place, and I really would like to know that, if at all possible, before I do any additional upgrades or improvements to that property. So I just, again, appreciate the few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Megerle. Anyone else wishing to speak during our public comment period?
Hi, my name is Misty Grider. I live at 1156 Reed Avenue. My neighbor, Lori Mitchell, at 1160 Reed Avenue, in my opinion, has been abusing city services and the police department to assault my family, pursuing a vendetta against us. I've been to legal aid, victims assistance, 3 neighborhood response officers, and the sign department, waste management, Ms. Tara Samples, the prosecutor's office, and a private attorney trying to make this stop. She has admitted to damaging my garage. She's been charged with criminal mischief. She is to appear in front of the prosecutor's office within 2 weeks, that's my understanding. Tomorrow I'm pursuing a civil protection order advised by victims assistance in the police department. ABD has her listed as a nuisance caller. I have many reports to my home. They're probably an inch thick. She's called the police on my house probably 75 to 80 times in the last year and a half. I've never been cited for anything. She's put cameras in her windows. Our houses are 20 feet apart, literally looking inside my windows, invading my privacy. She's put 2,000 lumen lights shining in my house, which I've been in contact with Officer McGall, the head of the neighborhood response team. He came out and he asked her to move the cameras out of our windows. So she moved it from one window to the other window. We built a big screen to put up between our houses to try to block this. She came out the next day and mounted her cameras even higher to look in our windows. She's got no parking signs put up for this spot. She doesn't own a car. She's contacted the sign department and told them that she's blind, and they gave that to her. But I showed them hours worth of video proving that she's not blind. Car 5 Officer Walters is in favor of removing the signs. All the sign department is in favor of removing the signs. Miss Samples, all of our neighbors. I'm being barraged by a woman, and I'm asking for help, that the right people realize that she's abusing city services. She has the SCAT bus come up and pick her up, and she hobbles down like she's handicapped. But I have cameras on my house as well, and I have video of her carrying 50-pound bags of pea gravel across her yard, throwing 2 foot by 2 foot concrete pavers like they're nothing. She's, in my opinion, she's not disabled, and she's using this disability thing to harass her neighbors.
Okay, I'm going to have to stop you right there, but I'm sure somebody will be able to try and talk to you afterwards.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gritter. Anyone else wishing to speak during our public comment period? Seeing none, we will close our public comment period and go into our committee assignments. Rules, Councilwoman Keith. Budget and Finance, Councilman Freeman. Planning, Councilman Fusco. Public Service, Councilman Keith. Public Utilities, Councilman Samples. Public Safety, Councilman Kamer. Parks and Rec, Councilman Neal. Housing, Councilman Kilby. Health and Social Services, Councilman Amobian. Economic Development, Councilman Sims. Green Committee, Councilman Swirsky. Councilman Swirsky? Oh, you said one? Okay, thank you. Before we go any further, I just wanted to acknowledge we do have someone, an elected official in the back, who sits on Canton City Council, Kevin Hall. So just wanted to acknowledge him and thank him for coming down and being with us on this evening. Is there anything else coming before council on tonight? Councilman Fusco?
Thank you. Just real briefly, every ward in the city has just a reminder, summer slide program, summer reading program. And last year, our problem was we had too many volunteers and not enough kids. Now it's the opposite. So I'm asking for everyone, if you know a teacher, if you have a spare couple hours during the week to hang out with some kids and read, I'd encourage everybody to do that. Roberta Rogers is the contact person. I have her phone number, so thank you.
Thank you. Anything else coming before council? Councilman Freeman?
Just thank you. We had a big Kaboom Park put together this week, and everything was wonderful. United Way, ton of volunteers, and if anybody says that those two gentlemen over there in the corner are old and broken down, I disagree, because I watched them work this Saturday. Right? Just because they look that way, I would like for you to see that the way they work is quite the opposite. No, I'm not talking. You know who I'm talking about.
Thank you. Anything else coming before council? Is there a second? Seeing no objections, we're adjourned.
This concludes the live broadcast of Akron City Council. Marlo Somerville, President of Council, presiding.